Hello. Welcome to how to deploy an operating system in a business or an organization. Usually you use a USB drive to install the operating system. But in this video I introduce how to deploy the operating system over the network. This method is suitable when you have to operate and maintain many computers. Not only deploy the operating system but also deploy the operating system with available applications. You do not need to manually install the applications on each computer but can create image files that have the necessary applications pre-integrated. This method helps you deploy more flexibly and easily. Of course, you need to spend time to build the initial system. Let's get started. First, you create a domain controller server. I create an internal domain server as above. You set up a static IP address for the server and upgrade it to a domain server. After completing the upgrade to a domain server, you install some services to deploy the operating system. You install the IP address allocation server service. If you use router to allocate IP address, then skip this step. I install virtualization service to test the settings step by step. And the virtualizer helps me create image file with integrated applications. From that image file I deploy to physical client computers. The third service is operating system deployment service. This service helps to install operating system over the network and deploy to multiple computers at the same time. For network deployment to work well, you need a good network infrastructure with enough internal network bandwidth. After completing the installation of applications, you restart the server. Restarting the server helps to apply the changes. Next, set up the server to allocate IP address. I set up the range of IP address allocated to the clients. Then set up the gateway address. Usually the gateway address is the IP address of the router. The system still works well if you use the router to allocate IP address. Next, you configure the server to deploy the operating system over network. Detailed steps as above. I set up to allow all clients to connect to the server to boot over the network. By default, you must allow the client to boot over the network. But to keep it simple, I allow all clients to connect to the server, both known and unknown. With the basic configuration, you pay attention to two items, boot file and image file. After the client is assigned an IP address, it will download a boot file from the server. From there, it boots over the network and connects to the operating system deployment system. I use the boot file from the Windows 10 installer. because it does not require as much as Windows 11. But it still helps me deploy a Windows 11 and of course Windows 10. You go to the home page and download the installers above. Then you mount the files to access the files. Next, I add the Windows 11 image file. You create a new group of image files, because you can add different image files for different purposes. In this case, I will create two image files. One is to deploy the OS without applications, and one image file to deploy the OS with applications. You should name the image file to match the purpose of use. By default, the server boots over the network, requiring something like pressing F12 or joining the domain. I will skip these steps because I want to keep the system simple. The above steps are suitable when you need advanced configurations. They will be more useful when you have mastered the system. Next, I use the hypervisor to test the system. Or you can use a physical computer if you want. At this step, you have a system that deploys the operating system over the network but without integrated applications. On the hypervisor, I create a new virtual switch. This virtual switch helps the virtual machine connect to the server as an internal network. Then I create a new virtual machine using the newly created switch. You set up a slightly larger hard drive if you want to add more applications. After completing the new virtual machine creation, I set it to boot over the network. The server connection is successful. The virtual machine boots from the boot file downloaded from the server. You use the domain administrator account to connect to the system. Next, you choose the operating system version and start the installation as usual. You can install using online account or create local account. In this case, I create local account for the client. You follow the steps above if you want to install virtual machine using local account. You make sure to disconnect internet if you want to create local account. After a while waiting, I have completed the operating system installation for virtual machine using the system just built. You can use this system to deploy to physical devices like virtual machine above. As mentioned, I want to deploy operating system with available applications. Here are the steps to do that. Like a physical computer, I download and install some commonly used applications on virtual machine. If you want to install more software, you note to increase the hard drive size for virtual machine. After completing the installation of applications on virtual machine, you go back to the operating system deployment system. Here you create a new boot file from the available file. This new file works differently from the current file. It is responsible for creating an image file from the virtual machine I just created. The image file includes the operating system installation and applications. You set the file for the new boot file to be reminiscent of its task. After creating the new boot file, I upload it to the system and it is ready to use. Now I put the virtual machine into a prepared state. When this system is in a prepared state, you can install hard drives on different hardware and get it ready for the first boot. It is a quick way to deploy to many computers in an organization. I put the virtual machine into a prepared state and shut it down. You make sure the virtual machine boots over the network. Because after the operating system installation is completed, the virtual machine automatically boots from the hard drive. Unlike the last time when booting over the network, I have two options. One option to install a new operating system, and another option to create an image file of the virtual machine. Of course, I choose to create an image file with applications. I create an image file of the operating system installation partition. If your virtual machine has many partitions, remember to choose the correct partition that is running the operating system. If you follow the steps like me, your virtual machine will only have one partition. You name the image file and browse to where it is stored. Note that you should create a virtual machine with a hard drive large enough to store the image file. You can upload the image file to the system later or upload it right here. In this case, I upload the file to the system so I connect to the server. If you upload the file here, you will be asked to enter the domain administrator account. Then select the image group created in the previous step. You wait a few more minutes to create a new file and upload it. After completing, you turn off the virtual machine and restart the server. You will see the new image file after completing the server restart. And this is the new image file that I created in the previous step. This file not only has the operating system installer but also the applications. After all the steps to build a system above, the result checking step is indispensable. Therefore, I will deploy the operating system on a physical computer. The server and the client are connected to each other in a local network. I go to the motherboard management page and set the client to boot over the network. I choose to install a new operating system for the client. Then I choose to install the operating system with pre-installed applications. Next are the operating system installation steps that we often see. Above are the basic steps to build an operating system deployment system for companies and organizations. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Good luck.